This is the first Clark Gruber that we have ever stocked. Look at this monster. Good for OGH with a CAC sticker. Hey everyone, Noah from Rarity 7. In this video, we are going to go over 38 new coins that we have just added to the Rarity 7 inventory. We're going to talk about each coin, go over the history, examine them under the coin cam, and it's going to be a good time. So stick around and we'll talk some numismatics. We're going to be joined by my business partner and very good friend, Owen Seymour, who is a coin savant and one of the best numismatic minds in the industry. A lot of you haven't met Owen before. Maybe some of you have met him at shows, but I'm very happy to be joined here. Owen, thanks for joining us on this video.
Yeah, I'm excited to look at some coins with you.
Yeah, and we've, Owen and I, this is going to be the first of what I hope will be many videos regularly where we talk about coins. So we're going to kind of get our bearings and feel this out and figure out the right way of sharing some fun numismatic gems for you guys. So let's dive right in, and we're going to take a look at some of the wonderful coins that we have today. Okay, the first coin we have today is a 1825 half cent in fine 12 brown. A very, very pleasing looking coin. Not a super rare one, but a fun example that I picked up because it's a cool little mint error. It's got a medallic alignment, which means the dies were rotated 180 degrees. So normally when you flip the coin like this, you would normally see half cent up and down, and it's upside down, which means the coin has what's called medallic alignment, when you would want to go flip the slab that way, left to right, rather than top to bottom. Also, generally a pleasing looking coin, not any corrosion. Anytime you get copper is highly reactive. So anytime you get this, multi-100-year-old copper, and it doesn't have any major corrosion or spots or pitting on it, you're generally in pretty good shape. And frankly, the coin looks pretty good to me for a 12. What do you think, Owen?
Yeah, I agree with you. There's an awful lot of hair detail for a fine. I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see this coin in a VF holder. And I like the alignment as well. It's not uncommon to find these half cents with slightly rotated dies, 20 or 30 degrees. But to find them with a full 180-degree rotation is really unusual. And paired with the conservative grade, it's one I'm really happy to have in stock.
Cool. Yeah, that's a fun one. Okay, moving on. Let's move to a different kind of copper. An 1855 half cent in PCGS MS64 red. I picked this coin up because I am a sucker for red copper, especially 170-year-old red copper. And, not red brown, not brown, which is what most of these, but this is true original mint bloom red, which means this coin was properly stored for the past 170 years. It still has a ton of luster. It has a ton of flash to it. One of the themes that we'll cover on a lot of the coins that we're looking at here is that I'm a sucker for luster, and I end up picking up coins that have a lot of flash and a lot of pop in hand. Another thing I really, really like about this example is that, a lot of times 64s in coins like this are gems with a big splotch, or gems with a big green spot or a black spot or something like that. And this coin doesn't have any of that. It's a very smooth, even looking coin. There's a little bit of noise in the field that blends in very nicely. It's not bothersome at all. The reverse is even brighter red than the obverse. Nice cartwheel luster. So overall, this is like an incredibly pleasing example of a piece of red old copper. Anything to add to that, Owen?
Yeah, I love the color of this one. It's not hard to find these half cents, in brown or even red brown. But finding them in red is really, really difficult. So I like this one.
Yeah, it's a fun one. All right, moving on to more modern, relatively speaking, copper. The next coin we have is a 1914D Lincoln Cent XF40 with a green CAC sticker. We picked this coin up because this is just a perfect example of the type. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this coin. It is, there's no spots, scratches, streak, wood grain, nice, smooth example, well detailed, outlined. It's just it's almost got that sort of liquidy, glossy look to it. It was well preserved. It was well handled. It's an XF coin. It saw circulation, but at no point was this coin bent or scratched or any problem. So well deserved green CAC sticker, and a really choice example of an XF. Next up, we have an 1905 Liberty nickel. So, I don't actually, we haven't really stocked a lot of V nickels because they're not a hugely popular series. And a lot of them come across pretty dull and not very exciting. I picked this coin up because, man, for an MS63, this thing has the luster of a gem or a superb gem. I mean, look at the flash on that at arm's length. No matter how you hold it, the coin has just complete, absolute flash. So I said, okay, this is a coin that it's only graded as 63, which feels a little conservative, but I think it's accurately graded. Owen, can you talk a little bit about why this coin is a 63?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that this coin is, fully gem luster. I think the grade restricting factor on this one, if you look at the high points along the cheek and at the base of the neck above the one, you can see some like high point chatter. So I think those abrasions kind of capped it down to a 63. 64 doesn't sound unreasonable, but we don't mind stocking, conservatively graded coins.
Yeah, and I mean, it's correctly graded. It's a 63, and it's not a 63 because it's got any huge problems or dull or have any issues. It's just got a nice amount of flash, and I really like it. So for a Liberty nickel, well done. All right, this next one is super fun. This is a 1814 capped dime in PCGS XF40 CAC. Now, this coin is particularly special because if you really get in there and look how this coin reflects in the light, it has real original rainbow color in the peripheries of the coin, and it is really magical, especially when we flip it over and look at the reverse. I mean, that is, and that is an XF. That's not a mint bag toned coin. That is a natural album toned with beautiful peripheral rainbow toning. This is as choice as it gets for a circulated cap bust dime. And in particular, we know how strict CAC is when it comes to things like color and artificial toning. And, often you will see a coin's color like this as the result of a cleaning. A coin gets cleaned, it makes the surfaces much more reactive, and therefore it'll take on some color. This is an original amount of color that came from, the way it was stored in an album or wherever it was stored. And CAC verified that, hey, this coin is all original and all there. So really, really a special example of a cap bust dime.
Yeah, I think this one's definitely a highlight of this group. Finding these in, even just mid-grade circulated grades is tough, but to find one that's XF, toned, and CAC approved is almost impossible.
Yeah, it's a really special one. Well, speaking of highlights, the next coin that we have is actually one of the true highlights that we've got here. This is just a monster. A 1796 drape bust quarter, the 1-year type, small eagle, good for OGH with a CAC sticker. This coin has all the bells and whistles. I'm excited about this because this is the second 1796 quarter CAC approved drape bust quarter that we have owned in as many months. So it is really, really exciting to be able to have this. I mean, we're becoming a little bit of a marketplace for drape bust quarters, and man, this is a winner of a coin. It's a collector friendly grade. It's good for, we're not trying to be a VF. This is not a $50,000 coin. Now, it's not a cheap coin by any stretch of the imagination. These are very, very tough 1-year types, but it's got all the bells and whistles, full detail on the obverse that you can make out the full portrait. The date is very strong. The stars are all visible. Liberty is fully visible. Reverse, a little weaker. It's got that wonderful small eagle, and there's definitely more wear on the reverse than the obverse, but the small eagle is fully visible. United States of America is fully visible. So this is going to be a wonderful example for someone's typeset or, whatever old holder set. And I'm very, very excited about this one. What do you think, Owen?
Yeah, this one's killer. To find any problem-free 1796 quarter is a treat, but to get one housed in the old green holder, CAC sticker, this is just a spectacular combination. I really like this one.
Yeah, this one will not last a long time, or at least I hope it doesn't last a long time. So. Okay, moving on. Here's a coin that you selected for us, Owen. This is a 1821 cap bust quarter in a fine 15 CAC. Do you want to talk about this one a little bit?
Yeah, I was happy to add this one to inventory because these cap bust quarters, despite being affordable, are pretty tough coins. Especially so to find them PCGS graded and CAC stickered. This one has a really nice look, kind of has that circ cam with the little lighter gray high points and darker gray fields. So it has an excellent look, CAC approved. This is a great coin.
And one thing that's worth pointing out on these, there is a look, as I've done a lot of these CAC reveals where we kind of send coins off to CAC for approval. And one of the things that I'm starting to get a sense of is there's a look. It's the cert cam, but it's that almost brownish light gray with the sort of almost brownish stone color. That is the original look of circulation and toning of this silver. And, CAC loves that. Albanese absolutely loves that look. And so you'll generally get this coloring on CAC approved coins. So this absolutely is a textbook example of a lower grade, circulated cam CAC coin. So we really like it. Next, we have a 27S Standing Liberty Quarter. Owen, you picked this one out on a buying trip recently. Super fun grade, super fun date and mint mark. Can you tell us a little bit about 27S and why that's a special date and mint mark combination for Standing Liberty Quarters?
Yeah, 27S is a very low mintage in the series. It's one of the semi-key dates. It's very collectible in all grades. Yeah, I saw this one. I really wanted to add it to inventory because as soon as I saw it, I realized it's way better than a typical XF45. A lot of 45s will come dull, or maybe they'll have some unattractive patina, but this one's kind of great in every regard. It has really great detail. It has a lot of luster left. I think the luster is on par with an AU coin. It has original color, so this is everything you want to see on an XF45.
It's awesome. It's a great example for one of the semi-key dates on this. All right, now moving to a more modern example of a quarter. Here's another coin you picked up recently. Not a particularly rare coin in absolute sense, but in terms of grade and look, this 47S Washington quarter, MS65 plus, stone cold original, never dipped out and, kind of ruined in the eyes of CAC at least. This is an absolute original amount. This is what silver looks like when it's been stored for 60, 70 years. Really, really delightful look on the coin. And, that almost silky, satiny, original skin. This is a coin where when you talk about skin on a coin, this quarter has skin. And this is not a deeply expensive coin. This is going to be well under $100. A very, very pleasant looking example of a modern 20th century coin, but with a really, really terrific CAC approved look. This is like a coin that I could easily see this, there's a reason they gave it a plus moniker, because it's just, it's not quite there, doesn't have quite flash for a 66, but it's absolutely a plus graded with color and skin and originality on a 65. So a really, really terrific example of a not terribly rare coin, but really enjoyable coin that you can get for under $100 and add to your collection. Oh man, we got some super highlights on this one. Look at this monster. Oh God, this coin, I gotta be honest, I was a little reluctant to sell this coin when we bought it. I've had it sitting on my desk for the past month because I kind of was debating keeping this for myself. And then I remembered that we're coin dealers and it's our job to sell coins. So, decided that it's time to say bye-bye to it. But man, this is... If I could define one type of coin for Rarity 7 to specialize in, it would be the flowing hair OGH CAC approved. I mean, this coin is heavenly. 1795, our 2-year type for the flowing hair $50. 1794s are actually buyable, unlike the dollars where they get, ridiculously expensive. The 94 halves are buyable, but 95s are more available. But this is the full package, a perfect coin. An OGH, one of the earlier generation OGHs, CAC approved, and it's hard to say goodbye to this coin, but again, we're coin dealers. It's kind of what we do. Any thoughts on this one, Owen?
Yeah, this coin's probably my favorite of the group. Excellent look to it, nice cert cam with the light gray high points. I think 25 is an extremely conservative grade for it. If you compare this coin to 30 or 35s, I think it's neck and neck with them. You pair that with the old green holder, CAC approval. This coin's got all the bells and whistles. I think this one's going to sell really fast.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm sad to see it go. And similarly, the next one, this was another one that I was thinking about keeping. We've got a really nice run of early halves with us here. Here's an 1831 cap bus half, also an OGH. This is a slightly later generation OGH. For those of you that pay attention to PCGS labels, they changed the font and the way that they set the labels up, and actually the color and the paper are a little different. These are both considered OGH, but the second one is a little bit of a later generation OGH. And again, this is like the absolute perfect look for me on a cap bus half. This gunmetal dove gray look with, you know, light and peripheral darkening a little bit, but still that original luster under there. AU50, which I think normally is a little bit of a compromise net grade. I would probably want to see a little more luster to get to an AU53 or 55, but I would not be surprised to see this coin in an AU53 holder. I think it's got, you know, a tremendously nice look to it, and I would love to have a collection of cap plus halves that all look like this.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for cap plus half dollars, so this is one I'd love to add to my own collection. It's got that perfect kind of khaki tan original patina to it, sharply detailed, some trace luster. OGH CAC approved again.
Delightful. Absolutely delicious looking coin. Very, very happy to have this. We'll be sad to say it. And frankly, the next one. And speaking of which, oh man, this 1837 in AU58 CAC, another one, you know, I'm kind of in love with the look of this coin, and I was incredibly excited when we found this one. I mean, again, dove gray, that perfect look, way more luster than the last one. You can see it's got that real cartwheel on it. But again, I would take every single cap plus half in the world looking like this and be happy to own this as either inventory or a collection. So just a magnificent looking coin.
Yeah, I really like this one. This is a reeded edge here as opposed to a lettered edge. So the US Mint transitioned from lettered edges to reeded edges in 1836 and made both types. The reeded edges of that year are very rare, and they also struck them until 1839. So this is still an earlier and a brief type. Like you said, it's got a great patina to it, a lot of luster left, and things crazy sharp strike. So this is a fantastic example of a short type.
It's a magnificent one. I really like it. So that's a fun one. All right, moving on to seeded halves. Moving into a very, very popular series. You know, we're trying to stock as many seeded coins as we can, and the nice ones, but they're tough because all you guys are snapping them up. Here is a 1863S in XF40. I recall that the 60s S mints in both the halves and the quarters are super tough. And I think the quarters are tougher. But Owen, can you tell us a little bit of the history about why the 60s S mints are tough?
Yeah, there's kind of two primary factors behind that. It starts with low mintages, of course. So there wasn't many of these coins to begin with. And then it's kind of multiplied by the fact that they had a very high rate of attrition, meaning they circulated extremely heavily. You know, a lot of them were either melted or just lost due to history, or circulated all the way down to good or AG. So to find one like this that's XF and CAC approved is really, really tough.
Yeah, this is an absolutely delightful, and you know, and CAC has been so tough on seeded coinage. It's one of the areas where John Albanese is, you know, a specialist, and he really, really is tough on these. You know, some of the dollars are, you know, CAC populations are 1 or 2 for some of the tougher dates. So, and on that vein, we have another beautiful. This one is a slightly lower grade. This is a 77 Carson City. So this mixes some extra special stuff. You know, it's one of the earlier Carson City dates. Relatively speaking, Carson City struck coins through 93, but for the seeded halves, they started in 70. So, you know, the late 70s, Carson City stuff, VF35 CAC. So again, a nice circulated look. That nice silver look to the coin, and you know, always very, very popular. And there's actually, again, there's trace luster on this coin, so it's nice for a VF.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this one's undergraded. If I see that much luster on a coin, I mean, you're pretty much thinking XF. I don't see any shortcomings in terms of detail that make me think it couldn't go XF. But again, we don't mind stocking conservatively graded coins. And these CAC approved Carson City seeded half dollars are just on fire right now. So I'd be willing to bet that by the time anybody watches this video, this one's probably sold.
Yep. It's a good one. I love it. All right, moving on to a later series, first year Barber half. This is an 1892 Barber half in CACG MS65. This coin is super, super flashy and special. You know, you see a lot of UNC first year coins because people held on to them. It was the new coinage, it was a new design, but man, this coin does not have the typical kind of dipped out blasty look to it. This is a stone cold original, nice color around the peripheries. I mean, this is the kind of coin that if this had a little bit higher flash, I would not be surprised to see this coin in an MS66 or 67 holder. Owen, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah, I really like this one. I remember when I first saw this one, we kind of had to think about if we wanted to really sell it as a 65 or maybe try to chase an upgrade on it. This is the kind of color you want to see on an 1892 half dollar. It's got this kind of perfect modeled original toning throughout, excellent silky luster. It's everything you want to see on this type.
Yeah. And by the way, I think it's actually worth talking for a second about stuff like that. Like, we're not here, our goal is obviously we want to, get coins in the best holders possible and, and sell them in fair grades. We're not here to squeeze every penny out of every single coin. I think there's a very real chance that this coin could be in a PCGS 66 or 66 plus holder. We bought it as a CACG 65, and frankly, I'm very happy to sell it to someone. We are going to ask a premium 65 CAC price for it. But I won't feel bad. I won't be upset. And I'll be actually happy if somebody ends up buying this coin and it ends up in a higher grade holder. I could see that happening and would make me happy for whoever buys it. All right, so we're going to move into some of the later date stuff now. That's our Barber one. Here's a coin, Owen. We've owned this coin once before, and I'm going to give you all the credit on this one. This is a 1917D Walking Liberty half. This is the reverse mint mark, AU58 plus CAC. So we saw this coin. You spotted this one. I give you full credit on this one. This was in an AU58 holder. And what did you say when you saw this coin?
That's a 58 plus.
Yep. And you said that's a fit. And we sent it in for reconsideration and it came back 58 plus because this is the look for a 58 plus. Can you tell us a little bit about what 58 plus means as a grade and why this is it?
Yeah, 58 plus is kind of an unusual grade. Something like a 63 plus might just mean that coin's in the best, maybe 10% or so of 63s. But for 58 plus, it's not that cut and dry. To get a plus on a cert grade, it has to be an absolutely outstanding, kind of perfect example of that grade. So this one stood out to me because it has wonderful luster for the date and mint mark. This one usually comes really dull. This is nice and flashy. It has this wonderful kind of honey gold patina throughout on both sides. No distracting marks or big spots. So this is just a fantastic example of a really tough grade, or a really tough date of Walking Liberty half dollar here.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's a gem. There's no major marks or problems on it. This is a gem coin that had a little bit of rub with nice flash. I can imagine what this coin looked like when it was fully unk. I mean, it was a special example. So we're very happy. We've owned it. We sold it, and then someone traded it in to buy another one of our coins recently. So we're very, very happy to be able to offer this for sale again. A delightful example. We'll move into some of the later walkers. There's some fun stuff we've got here. There's two CACG coins. These are both 45 S's, so later S mint walkers. One is a CACG 65, one is a CACG 66. So this is a really, really good example to show about what the difference is between, some of the grading standards on these coins. Both spectacular coins. I mean, luster bomb, San Francisco mint. So we'll look at the 45S in 65 first, and very flashy. I'm super excited that you found this coin. Do you want to talk a little bit as I show both of these coins? You want to talk a little bit about the grading standards and how we look between 5 and 6?
Yeah, for 5 and 6 on Walking Liberty half dollar, strike is very important. These coins they're well struck, but not perfect, which is typical of these San Francisco mint coins. Or actually, these are above average for San Francisco mint coins. So very similar strike on these two. I think the grade difference between the two is that the 66 here is a little bit better framed. That has some attractive obverse color there, especially on the left-hand side. And I think is a little bit better preserved. There's a few less abrasions on this one. So I think this one is a step up, albeit a small step up from the prior example.
Yeah, really, they're both like choice examples, and I think really, really well graded and good examples of the type. So again, not super expensive coins, but flashy, nice examples of mid 40s walkers. Okay, so that ends our Walker run. Let's jump in to some dollars. And my personal second favorite series, other than flowing hair dollars, is draped bust dollars. And here is a early 19th century. This is an 1802 draped bust dollar, PCGS VF30. And boy, I picked this coin up at a show recently. I absolutely love the look of this coin. It's got that framing, that circulated cameo look where you can fully see the design as distinct from the fields. You can make out the individual strands of hair. It is definitely worn, but it is a well-struck coin that's just seen some real honest circulation wear, and an incredibly eye-appealing looking coin, both on the obverse and reverse. No scratches, major marks, some friction that you would expect to see for the grade in a VF30, but this is just a choice example of an honestly circulated VF drape bust dollar. And we will try to stock as many of these as possible. I want to be a source for really, really fun drape bust dollars. And Owen, I imagine you've seen a lot of these in your time at PCGS. So, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this one's got a great patina to it. Finding drape bust dollars with nice original surfaces is tough because they've been collectible for a long time. And the longer that a coin has been collectible for, the longer it's been subjected to the kind of nefarious things that coin collectors and dealers do to coins to try to improve their look. Anything from altering the surface or cleaning them or otherwise playing with them. So this coin shows no evidence of that, right? It's got that perfect kind of stone gray patina to it. No marks, hairlines, or signs of any issues. So this is definitely an outstanding example of the type, and one that this is the kind of look that collectors should look for.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool look on the coin. So very, very pleased to own this. We'll keep looking for more. All right, well, let's move into some later dollars. We've got a couple Morgan dollars now, and we're not going to look at some super rare coins. We've got an 81S and two 82Ss. Very, relatively speaking, common coins when it comes to Morgan dollars. But I will tell you that this coin has a incredibly non-generic look to it. 81S is incredibly common coin, but this coin actually looks like it has some original color, original surfaces, hasn't been dipped out and ruined like a lot of the coins, so it looks like these absolutely generic 81S dollar. And the same goes with the 82s. These are both, one of them is a 65, actually they're both 65, the 81S is a 66. And again, nice original color on this 82S, original surfaces, very, very nice looking. This is exactly the kind of coin that CAC looks for. And this 82S, also original, but this one has, much more flash and that black and white look to it. Again, hasn't been polished or ruined or anything like that. So, again, these are not rare coins, but these are really, really nice examples and relatively priced, so that you're going to be able to add them to a collection and not, break the bank on something like this. So you found these coins, Owen, during a recent buying trip. You want to talk about a little bit what you liked about them?
Yeah, these stood out to me on a recent buying trip because a lot of these common date estimate dollars are kind of commodity coins, right? A blast white NGC 65 example wouldn't really stand out to me. Whereas these did because, A, they're CAC approved, they have nice original looks to them, they're well struck, fantastically lustrous. So these are just kind of nice collector grade coins, perfect for a typeset or gem date set of Morgan dollars.
Yeah, I think they're great, and I'm totally pleased to have them. And much better than like a generic bulk graded PCGS, or NGC 63. Those are actually kind of fun. All right, so moving on, the next group of Morgan dollars that we have is a different flavor of Morgan dollars. Now we're going to move from the unks to the circulated, and we've got a run of CCs and a semi-key date. So we'll just talk about these. So first we've got a 90cc in XF40 with a CAC sticker. Then we've got a 91cc, also XF40 with a CAC sticker. And then we've got a 92cc PCGS VF20 with a CAC sticker. So we'll talk about these three CCs first. I'm a sucker for CAC approved circulated coins, especially these XFs. They're really tough. XFs are this grade where you start to see, the temptation to clean throughout the years because, it's just a little muted. So maybe if I just polish it up, it'll look super shiny. And to find these XFs that are as original as this without the old cleaning and just true pure wear is a really tough one. So I really look for these nice XFs. But similarly, I am a huge fan of this circulated cameo look. You know, I'm building a set of Morgan dollars for my personal collection that have this kind of look, that almost black and white photo look, grayscale, different, you know, degrees of gray, and, you know, just a really, really, really special look on this coin. And the last one, a 95.0, a really, really nice look, VF35, will fill a set beautifully. You know, this is one of the tougher dates. This gets incredibly expensive in mint state and is still buyable in the VF grades. But overall, just like a generally nice look on this whole little group of circulated Morgans.
Yeah, these three Carson City dollars is almost a mini course on what to look for on a nice VF or XF circulated Morgan dollar. You want this kind of gray patina to it, and these are all really well detailed for the grade. So this is a really nice trio here.
Awesome, a fun little group. Next, we have a piece dollar. That is like a super flash monster piece dollar. You know, I'm a sucker again for these off Philly dates, the D mints and the S mints on the piece dollars, because the Phillies are all super common with the exception of the 21s and the 28s. But to get into these, like the 26D in 64 CAC, it's a totally buyable coin, you know, under $1,000. But again, blast white, satiny, silky luster. And when you pull right in there, you can just see how that nice, silky, smooth skin looks on the coin. And, you know, piece dollars are a little bit more generous in the grading. You can have a lot more hits and bags on them than a typical other coin that you might see, because that's just the way they came. So here's a 64 without any major impairments, any major huge scratches or hits on it. Overall, just like a really, really nice looking coin. I know piece dollars aren't the most exciting thing in the world, Owen, but I don't know. I kind of have a soft spot for coins that look like this.
Yeah, this one stands out. I mean, the strike is phenomenal for the type. Piece dollars are often really poorly struck at the hair and on the eagle and the reverse and at the lettering. So this one's definitely way above average in that regard. Like you said, far less abraded than a typical 64, so I like this one.
Yeah, it's got a good look to it. It's got a really nice look to it. Okay, that concludes our silver coinage. Let's move into some of the gold. Here is a coin that you picked up recently, Owen. A lovely 1916 McKinley commemorative dollar. You do like your gold dollars. You have an affinity.
I love them. I have a soft spot for gold dollars.
Yeah, they're kind of fun little coins. So you're going to see a lot of gold dollars in the Rarity 7 inventory. Let's talk about this McKinley. It's a gem. It's CAC approved. Why did you pick this coin? What do you like about it?
Yeah, I think this coin's a great example of what kind of look to look for as a collector of gold coins. It has this like really rich, deep, nuanced gold color throughout, like kind of several different hues. What you want to avoid when you're collecting gold coins is coins that look brassy. You know, coins that are really bright monochromatic yellow. That's usually indicative of some kind of like chemical treatment to kind of strip the coin of patina and make it much brighter. Whereas you know, a coin like this, I think that the varying patina throughout it and kind of different colors of gold serves as evidence it's never been played with. And apparently CAC agrees.
Yeah, a really, really nice one. So we'll move on to some of the older gold dollars. We've got a 1852 Type 1. They moved on to Type 2 in 1854. So here's a pretty honest AU58. I mean, this is just like a straightforward, real luster. It doesn't have any impairments. And, you know, not to knock NGC too much, I have seen some NGC 55s and 58s that make me want to vomit. And, you know, we will not stock those. I just don't like the look on it. This one is like a real honest 58. I mean, it doesn't have any major signs that it's been, abraded or polished or given any of the market grading. It's got real luster, just a little bit of rub on the high points, and overall a very, very pleasing 58.
Yeah, this one's not breaking any registry records or anything, but it's priced accordingly. I picked this one up because, like you said, I have a soft spot for gold dollars, and this is just like a nice collector grade, affordable example.
Yeah, it's super nice. Now, you want to move into the even nicer one. Here's a 54 Type 1, the last of the Type 1s in CAC 63 plus, sorry, PCGS 63 plus CAC. This coin has an absolutely wonderful look. It's got this golden peripheral toning. When I was photographing this coin the other day, I was really kind of mesmerized by how the pictures came out. It just looks exactly right. You can, it's tough to find the CAC line on gold. They're really, really tough on gold. And when I was photographing this, I kind of looked at it and I immediately said, all right, this is a CAC approved coin. It's just a special looking one. Good eye on this one. Thanks for picking this one for us.
Yeah, similar to the gold commemorative we recently went over. this is another great example of the kind of color that you want to look for in gold. You can see at the periphery, there's kind of these like copper hues. Those serve as like indicators that this coin's never been stripped. In addition to that, it looks a little bit dirty. That's a good thing. You know, almost 200-year-old gold should not be bright and flashy like a brass doorknob.
Yeah.
This is the kind of look you want to see on a gold dollar.
Absolutely. It's awesome. All right, well, we'll move on to another 1854, but this one is the Type 2. So another CAC approved one, slightly lower grade. This is an AU53, and we moved on to the Type 2 design, which I'm a big fan of, and these are always popular. By the way, we just learned, we were talking about this. I had mistakenly said that the Type 2 golds were a 2-year type, 54 and 55, and Owen correctly pointed out that actually 1856S in San Francisco is a Type 2 coin. Whereas the 56 Phillies are Type 3. So it actually is a 3-year type for the Type 2 gold coins. And I don't know that we've ever owned a 56S Type 2, but I think we got to get a couple now.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I really like these Type 2s. They're really tough. And there's something of a conditional rarity in uncirculated grades. So in AU like this, it's certainly still scarce, especially so with CAC approval. But to find these Type 2s in 62 or especially 63 or better is really, really tough, and there are many multiples in value of this coin here.
And we'll keep our eyes open. We'll find a 56S Type 2 for you guys at some point. Now that we know about it, and we're gonna start hunting. Anyway, all right. Next, moving on to a $5, one of my favorite types. You know, I'm a sucker for the flowing hair and drape bust type. Owen, you get all the credit for hunting and finding this coin. Here is a really awesome 1806 drape bust $5 early gold, man. Love it. Like, large eagle, beautiful. And you know, I think we were talking about this. These coins come far, far worse in lower grade. They're usually problem coins. So this is just a really, really fun example of a collector grade coin under $10,000. You know, anytime you're going to get any drape bust early gold for under $10,000. And I think, you know, you're talking something really special here. So you found this. Tell me what you were thinking when you found this coin.
Yeah, as soon as I saw this one, I knew I wanted to add it to inventory. During my time at PCGS, you encountered a lot of these drape bust gold coins, and an enormous majority of them were, you know, problematic, usually severely so. You know, a lot of them were, you know, had significant repairs on them, or maybe they're tooled, or they chisel in the fields, or they have graffiti. So to find one like this that's just a nice, wholesome collector grade, you know, this is a bit of an older PCGS holder. This is just like a wonderful example of the type. And to find one this nice for under 10,000 is a really special coin.
Thank you for finding this, Owen. This coin is dope. I'm super excited about this one, and I expect this will go into a very, very fun home with a collector relatively quickly. All right, so moving on from that one, here's another. We're going to move on to the last stack of gold coins here. Another really fun one that you found, some Fairmont coins, or a Fairmont coin rather, a Fairmont $5. And this is an MS62 CAC, Philly Mint 1878. And, you know, this coin, I mean, the Fairmont Horde came out of a, you know, Stax Bowers has been slowly selling them off for the past few years. A lot of the Fairmont coins have a very specific look to them. They almost have that dirty gold European look to them. They've been the way they were stored. This coin actually has some flash and luster and didn't mute during its storage time. So a very, very nice, appealing look. You know, I think 62 is the correct grade. It's got some chatter. Again, no huge marks, scratches, digs, dings, or anything, because, you know, the coin basically circulated a little bit and then went into the vaults. But for a Fairmont coin, a really flashy, nice look to it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a much more lustrous than coins that you typically see from this collection. This is the kind of coin it's pretty available in 62, but the CAC sticker kind of changes everything. This is a very, very hard coin to find uncirculated with CAC approval.
And frankly, like very reasonably priced. I mean, not a huge premium on, you know, this isn't a multi-$1,000 coin. I think it's a very reasonably priced coin. So a great example of getting a slightly better 5 lib that it has a Fairmont pedigree and a CAC sticker. So it's got all the bells and whistles on it. So a nice one. And then after that, we're going to move to another one of my favorite types. You know, I will take every single one of these shipwreck coins that I possibly can because they just are so fun. So here's an 1857S 20 lib, SS Central America, MS64. If you don't know the story of the SS Central America, this is worth looking up. And we'll probably do a whole episode sometime about these. But man, this is like Super, super, super delightful. You know, these were all retrieved from the shipwreck of the SS Central America. PCGS put them in the special gold foil holders, which, by the way, are impossible to photograph, and black text on gold foil. But, you know, a lot of these were unk. They came directly on the SS Central America from the San Francisco Mint as it was sailing, and obviously crashed. And a lot of these mint state coins were pedigreed from the retrieval, the treasure retrieval of this shipwreck. And, you know, I just absolutely love them. They're super fun. There's a great story that goes along with them. And, you know, you can honestly say that you own a coin that was retrieved from the bottom of the ocean from a shipwreck as part of a rare treasure hoard. So thanks for finding this coin, Owen. It's super fun.
Yeah, I'm always keeping an eye out for these SS Central America coins. These Type 1 20 libs, which were struck until 1866, are really hard to find in nice uncirculated grades. And really, to find one in 64, you almost have to look for a shipwreck coin. So I'm always happy to add these to inventory.
Yeah, a really beautiful look to it. All right, we'll move into commemoratives. Now, we've got a 1952 Washington Carver. You found this coin for us as well. A beautiful CAC-approved MS66 in an NGC holder. This is a fun little one because, again, it's not one of the more super rare commemoratives. They do come in higher grade. I like the two-tone nature of this. I think the obverse of this coin has some real color and flash to it, and the reverse has that more blast white look to it. So clearly the coin wasn't dipped. This is a result of how it was stored. I think, you know, the obverse tones slightly differently than the reverse tone and gives it a really, really, really pleasing look to it. So good find on this one. Thanks for finding this coin.
Yeah, I think it's important to note on these Washington Carver commems that on the obverse, they almost always have a little bit of unstruck planchet at the high point, kind of at the upper portion of the cheekbone there, as well as the lower portion at the jawline. It's important not to confuse that with like abrasions or wear. You know, if you do, you're always going to undergrade these ones. I think if this one didn't have that, the coin would have claims of 67, but with it, I think it's still an outstanding 66.
That's really cool. I love it. And now we'll switch gears again to another amazing, fun, cool coin. This is the first Clark Gruber that we have ever stocked. This is a Pioneer gold coin from the Colorado Gold Rush, which was I guess an aftershock of the San Francisco 1849 gold rush. This was from the 1860s. Clark Gruber, one of the private mints that sprung up to meet demand from the gold flowing out of Pikes Peak. So you can see this is $2.50 of pure Pike Peak gold from Denver, Colorado. $2.50. Now, a lot of these Clark Gruber coins come really beat up because these coins made it into commerce, the ones that survived. This is a honest AU55, doesn't have many abrasions or huge hits or dings, doesn't have any abrasive cleaning. I actually really, really like the look of this coin. It's got, you know, it's a little weakly struck. I think a lot of these Clark Grubers came weakly struck. They were still working out the bugs of being a private coiner, and I think that results in a lot of the workmanship of some of these coins. But otherwise, a really, really delightful looking example of one of the tougher territorial pieces.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a cheap piece of territorial gold, but this definitely serves as an example of kind of an entry-level one for the type. So very happy to have this one in inventory.
You can get this one and then upgrade to a Mountain 10 when you're ready to play with the big boys in the big leagues. We've never owned a Mountain 10, but I predict at least one in our future. It's a really fun one. Okay, and last but certainly not least, a funky type of token that is highly collectible, that has made it into the mainstream and doesn't have one of those strange HK token designations. This is an 1837, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, so you can all butcher me. Feuchtwanger, which I believe is the correct pronunciation. I had to look that one up, by the way. Americans, we always typically call this a Feuchtwanger or a Feuchtwanger, something like that. That's the Americanization of what we call these. And so I'll allow my German friends to correct me and tell me how horrible my pronunciation is. But anyway, the story behind this coin, we actually looked this up because I didn't actually know the full story behind them. They're super fun. So this was a prototype of a type of silver alloy called German silver. Actually did not have any silver in it. I believe it was a copper, nickel, zinc alloy. You can correct me again if I'm wrong on that one. That the Dr. Feuchtwanger was using to propose to the United States Congress as an alloy for striking coins. And there were various reasons why it was better or worse. Congress does as they do, which is that they didn't have time or they rejected the notion and the proposal. But nonetheless, these ended up circulating as U.S. currency with a value of 1 cent. So they ended up getting, you'll see these circulated examples out there. This is a VF30. It saw real commerce. It was accepted as a 1 cent piece and has now become highly collectible. Very, very priced very, very reasonably relative to the scarcity and the story behind them. I mean, coins like this under $1,000, and you can get the gem ones, for under $5,000. We had a gem MS65 CAC one recently, but highly collectible, an interesting coin, and one that's kind of super fun to add to inventory. Anyway, so that's it. I think that's our group. Oh, and this has been really fun. Thanks for sitting and talking through all these with me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure reviewing these coins with you, Noah.
Yeah, and we'll do more of this. So all these coins are for sale on Rarity7.com. I've got links down in the description. Feel free to check them out. If they're sold, I apologize. We're going to get more. That's our job here. We're always going to be looking for more fun coins. And we'll be back with more reviews of coins, more CAC reveals, and more fun stuff in the future. So thanks for joining us tonight.